Thank
You will
you.
be replacing Ms. Elizalde. Welcome, Ms. Ortega. Good morning. This is Judge Alyssa Perez presiding over the 210th District Court criminal docket for August 8th, 2023. All matters being heard today are being heard in accordance with all emergency orders and directives regarding COVID-19. In addition to that, we are streaming all matters live via YouTube for public viewing. Mr. Marufo, would you call our next case, please?
Bottom of page 7, Judge. I mean, page 9, apologize, Judge. In cause number 2023-0D00795 and 2023-0D00860, State of Texas versus Michael Hobbs. Announcements, please.
I didn't hear any announcements.
It's Michael Hobbs.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Good morning, Your Honor. Eduardo Solis for Mr. Hobbs.
And we are scheduled for a final hearing plea deadline. I do not have any motions pending. Are you all ready for trial?
Your Honor, go ahead, Mr. Solis.
I'm sorry. I did file the motion to continue both causes this morning, Your Honor. So the offer is 8 TDC. Mr. Hobbs is not agreeable, and so I believe it'll go to trial. However, I'm in the midst of preparing for a capital in the 409th on the 18th. And so I've moved for continuance for that reason, Your Honor.
Mr. Solis, I understood that this was an agreed plea here. That's incorrect now. Is that right?
Well, let me ask Mr. Vandenberg, sorry, Mr. Solis. Mr. Vandenberg, what's the rec?
8 TDC on the case ending in 795 with dismissal of 795 with a plea to 860.
Does he have any prior pen trips?
No, Your Honor, I don't believe so. Let me confirm this, however.
Mr. Solis, is that the only rec you received?
I believe the most recent rec was 8 on both. But regardless, 8 on one or 8 on both, Mr. Hobbs is not agreeable to accept 8 years TDC. And I'm happy to try the case. I just need time to get the other one done, and then we'll focus on this one.
I'm sorry, there is a pen trip here.
Okay. What is the state's position on defense motion for continuance?
Unopposed, Your Honor.
And for the record, Mr. Hobbs, that's correct. Are you not accepting the 8-year recommendation from the state? If you're speaking, you're muted. Is that your understanding, Mr. Solis? He has rejected the TDC.
Yes, we've been in touch consistently, and he's rejected it.
Okay, thank you very much. With that representation, we'll go ahead and grant your continuance so your client understands. We will set this on the regular docket, meaning the regularly scheduled docket, which is in 2024 at this point for trial. This is a first setting, so I'm not going to specially set it yet, but is there anything outstanding, Mr. Solis, in terms of discovery or anything of that nature?
I don't believe so, Your Honor. I'll have to double check, but at last review, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Anything was requested from Mr. Solis, Your Honor.
I'm sorry?
I see no notes that anything was requested to this date.
But so everything's been turned over. We don't have any motions that require hearing, anything of that nature?
Not at the moment, Your Honor.
That is correct.
Do you anticipate anything in the future?
I will file my usual pretrial motions, but as far as
the deadline for that has already passed, Mr. Solis.
Okay, then I'll file my motions limine right prior to trial.
Understood. Okay, I asked because I want to see if I can fit you in sooner than I'm thinking we're looking at February, possibly March of 2024, that we get it set sooner. If it's ready to go, it's ready to go. Okay. Alrighty, thank you very much. Continuance granted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Who's next?
Bottom of page 10, Judge,
Go ahead.
in cause number 2023-0D00881, State of Texas versus Allen Quinones Mesa. Announcement of council, please.
Val Ortega for the state, ready to proceed.
Good morning, Your Honor. Jaime Olivas for Mr. Mesa.
Did Mr. Mesa check in, Mr. Marufo?
Yes, Judge.
Hey, is he in the waiting room?
No, Judge.
All right, Ms. Ortega, final hearing plea deadline. What's the recommendation in this case?
6 deferred, Your Honor, with standard
Sure.
terms.
Mr. Olivas?
Your Honor, I've spoken to my client and he is an LPR. As a result, he cannot take that. I communicated with Ms. Elizalde. We had agreed to push it. I need to consult with some immigration lawyers to see how this will affect him. My understanding is that we'll subject him to deportation, so he needed to talk to a lawyer to figure that out. I am formally asking for a continuance. Ms. Elizalde said she was good with it.
Your Honor, I'll honor my colleague's decision on that. And given that it's a 2023 case, the state doesn't oppose.
Is that the only matter that is outstanding, Mr. Olivas?
It is, Judge, yes. Well, some other stuff, but that's between my client and me.
I understand, but is there anything in terms of any discovery, anything that hasn't been turned over, or any motions that need a hearing?
No, Judge, this is a straightforward. He was in the hospital in handcuffs and decided to leave, and when he was stopped by the orderlies, they both fell to the ground.
Mr. Olivas, are you retained or appointed?
I'm retained, Judge.
Okay, so I'm going to give you 30 days to do that. He has 30 days to consult with an immigration attorney, so we're going to reset. Please file your motion with that basis listed there. Ms. Ortega kind of understood that to be you're not opposed, but I
Yes,
don't
Your
know.
Honor.
Okay,
Yes, I'm not opposed at this time.
so I'm
If I
resetting
may
it for,
interrupt,
yes, ma'am.
Judge, Mr. Olivas, the waiver of arraignment hasn't been processed on this case.
It has not. I
Okay.
will do that today.
Thank you, Myrna. We're setting it for final hearing plea deadline on September 12th. By that time, those hearings will be in person, so let your client know he needs to be here on September 12th at 10 a.m.
Judge, I don't believe this is by September 12th. In other words, could we be placed on the trial docket? My understanding is that unless we plead something that won't subject them to deportation, it looks like it's going to have to go to trial.
Well, that's why I'm setting it for September 12th. And then on September 15th is your trial setting.
That's my point, Judge. I don't think we can accomplish those objectives in this short of a fuse. Is there any way?
And talk to an immigration attorney in 30 days?
Well, my point is this: I suspect yes, he can, but my suspicion is that the answer is going to subject them to deportation anyway. As a result, we're going to have to get on the trial track. So
It is the trial track. You're on the trial track this week. So I'm setting it in 30 days for another trial so your client can have the opportunity to speak with an immigration attorney. The case is ready.
I was requesting a trial in January or February, Judge.
I don't think you need all that time to speak with an immigration attorney to determine the consequences of a plea
Well,
or
no,
conviction.
there's other issues besides the plea. This plea will subject them to deportation. So I'm exploring another avenue of settlement. And ultimately, I do not want to go to trial unless we have to. But the point being, I want to see everything I can do to prevent him from being deported. And I do
Have
not
you
believe.
ever, Mr. Olivas, have you ever made a counteroffer to the state?
No, Judge. No.
I mean, you've
and it
been
is
on this case since May. The
Well-
immigration situation is not new. So I
Well,
would imagine that would have been explored and you could have made a counter to the state over the
I-
past 3 months.
Judge, it is new because my client had not disclosed it to me that he was an LPR. I always assumed that he was a U.S. citizen.
Mr.
Yeah.
Olivas, I'm setting you for September 12th and September 15th.
You know, Judge, there are just numbers on a page.
I'm sorry?
They're just dates on a page, and this is our first trial setting.
So, okay, I understand what you're saying. They're numbers, but they mean something because it means you have to be ready for trial.
Fair enough.
Thank you very much. If you're asking for a continuance, please file your motion.
Very well, Judge.
Thank
May I-
you.
May I be excused?
You may. Who's next?
Bottom of page 7, Judge.
Mhm.
Cause number 2023-0D00783, State of Texas versus Brandon Rodolfo Acosta. Announcement of council, please.
Preston Munson for the stage ready, Your Honor.
Rick Huffman on behalf of Mr. Acosta.
I have this down. Obviously, Mr. Huffman was in trial, so I have motions. I have a defense motion for continuance in this case. I also have a warrant on Mr. Acosta issued back in March of this year. Yes. Have you had any contact with your client, Mr. Huffman?
No, Your Honor, I am double checking right now, but I do not believe so.
What's the rec, Mr. Munson?
The rec, let's pull back up. I just
No.
had,
And no, Judge, I don't
I think
have,
it was 5 straight. Yes, 5 straight.
yeah, the bond company couldn't locate him. We couldn't locate him. I've got no information about him. Last thing I heard is,
He's
yeah,
deported.
I told.
And his address is listed from the jail as a Juarez address.
Mr. Maruful, I'm just gonna throw this out there. Did he ever check in?
No, Judge. And,
He's never checked in.
No, Judge.
So for my purposes, Mr. Huffman, I don't really want you to burn your continuance because obviously circumstances change. You're not in trial anymore and your client is MIA. I'm going to leave this on the trial docket for this week. I know on our last trial week, a defendant that was MIA showed up in person on trial day. And so I'm going to leave it there. Once we get past that trial setting, you know, it'll just be inactivated until we get your client, Mr. Huffman.
Understood.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Munson.
Thank you, Judge.
Who's next?
Top of page 8, Judge.
Mhm.
In cause number 2023-0D00447, State of Texas versus Arturo Arellano. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state, Your Honor.
Rick Huffman on behalf of Mr. Arellano.
Mr. Arellano is in custody. Mr. Vandenberg, what's the rec?
It's 5 deferred BIP. Yeah, that doesn't seem correct, does it?
No, sure doesn't.
It's
I do know you filed your motion for continuance and there is a motion to suppress that was filed that a hearing was never requested, so.
Right.
So what's the rec?
The rec is 10 TDC, Your Honor.
On all counts?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Huffman, were you aware of that rec?
no. Is that,
What?
was there was the previous rec pulled off the table or
What was the previous rec, Mr. Huffman?
It expired, the previous one.
the 5 deferred?
Yes, sir.
And when did that expire?
Oh, it expired July 11th.
Mr. Huffman, I know you filed a motion for continuance, and although you're not in trial, I know you were very busy.
Yeah.
Are you ready to go on this one?
Short answer is yeah, I'm not ready. There's a lot of texts and messages and stuff like that we've gotten that I've got to review. I've gone through most of it, Judge.
Mhm.
But certainly I need to speak to him, maybe I will be asking for a continuance, I need more time. I think this is the first trial setting, I'll probably be asking for a bond hearing as well. But I would like this is Brent's old case, so I need to talk to him about this offer, if, you know, this 5 AP. Or sorry, 5 deferred, hopefully I'm hoping that the prosecutor will leave that open and give me a chance to talk to Mr. Adiano about it.
Well, hold on a second, because I'm not hearing that, Mr. Vandenberg.
That-
When you said the 5 deferred, was that, I mean, were you on a wrong case, or was it actually the rec that had expired?
It was the rec that had expired, Your Honor. The new rec would be 10 TDC.
I mean, it just seems like an awful big jump. So I don't know, maybe Mr. Vandenberg can reconsider that, but ultimately, yes, Judge, I'll be asking for a continuance.
What's the state's position on the continuance?
Unopposed, Your Honor, and be happy to talk with Mr. Huffman about the case.
I'm sorry?
We'd be happy to talk with you about the case.
Oh, okay.
About it This morning, we should get back into it.
Complaining witness, Judge, is the client's ex-wife or ex-girlfriend. They have a child together. It's certainly a highly contested allegation.
The last contact we have with the complaining witness a few months ago says she wants to go ahead and prosecute.
All right. Myrna, can you tell me, I'm looking at the trial calendar for September 15th. I don't really see anything that knocks us out on the 15th. So if I put if I don't see any special settings, I know we're in the courtroom Thursday and Friday. Is there anything that conflicts with that date? I mean, if otherwise it's ready to go, and I understand you said you have text, jail calls, some documentation. If it's otherwise ready, then I'm inclined to put you there as a special setting. It'll give you the opportunity to, if you all are going to still negotiate away from that 10 TDC, to do that. And if not, we can be ready for trial.
Yeah, and maybe we could have a discovery hearing or something before, because I don't want the same situation to happen this time where I get thousands of jail calls, hundreds of, thousands of CPS records a week before trial. I want to try to avoid that, Judge. So
Have we turned over everything we have, Mr. Vandenberg?
Yes, Your Honor, we'll go through that again to make sure that's the case and that nothing new has shown up, but everything has been disclosed.
So not hearing any reason why we can't set it quickly. I'm going to set it specially set for September 14th and 15th. Your final hearing plea deadline will be on September 12th. We will have a final judges conference on August 29th. So that gives you about 3 weeks to review, ask the DA for anything they haven't provided. You all can do what you need to. And then I'll have you specially set for trials on those days.
Very good.
thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
Mr.
Who's
Huffman, I will give you a call today.
Second on page 10, Judge.
Mhm.
In cause number 2023-0D00861, State of Texas versus Scott Hobbs. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state. The state is ready, Your Honor.
Rick Huffman on behalf of Mr. Hobbs.
What's the rec? We're at a final hearing plea deadline.
It's 3 TDC.
Mr. Huffman?
I have conveyed that offer to my client, and he is rejecting that offer, Your Honor.
There is also a defense motion for continuance. Are you still urging that, Mr. Huffman? Are you ready to go to trial?
I don't think that, well, okay. Has the prosecutors made any contact with the complaining witness? I think this is the kind of case where he's MIA. The complaining witness is going around conning a bunch of people, and my client just did a citizen's arrest and held him there so the police could come get him. But so I highly doubt that the complaining witness is going to be present. So I don't know if I want to burn.
Are
a
you ready
continuance.
this week?
The state is ready, Your Honor. I would like to talk to Mr. Huffman. I have not heard that, those types of facts in this, so that would be interesting.
Well, maybe we can develop this. Maybe we need a little more time. I think this is the first trial setting, Judge.
I believe it is.
I don't want to jump in quite yet.
He is enhanced. He has one prior pen trip, Your Honor.
Let me look at something. I don't see any subpoenas being issued on any witnesses.
Because I
right.
think I might need to file a subpoena for all the complaints lodged against the complaining witness. That,
All right, if it's otherwise ready for trial and the state is unopposed, I'm going to grant the defense continuance. Ms. Hernandez, if you will please schedule him at the same time as Mr. Solis's client. I'm assuming they're related, right?
Yes, sir.
I don't think that they're related, Your Honor.
that was for Hobbs.
Mhm.
This one, oh yeah, it's the same case. Sorry. Dude.
Right, it's the same case. All right, defense continuance granted. Next.
Page 11, Judge.
Mhm.
In cause number 2022-0D04461, State of Texas versus Raymond Jr. Ornelas. Announcement of council, please.
$10 Ortega for the state. State is ready.
Rick Huffman on behalf of Mr. Ornelas, we're ready.
And I do see a gentleman by the name of Raymond Ornelas. Is that your client, Mr. Huffman?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
I have a notation here, although it is a final hearing plea deadline. This is the case in which the misdemeanor court, you all were contemplating having an extension of his probation there for dismissal here. I did review the misdemeanor case. I didn't see any extension. So, Ms. Ortega, what is the rec in this case?
It is still the 3 deferred, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Huffman?
So Judge, Mr. Vandenberg and I went to talk to Judge Julie Gonzalez in County Court 2.
Mhm.
I think 2 weeks ago, and she was out of town.
Mhm.
And we attempted to reschedule for I think last week. But we were not able to speak to Judge Julie about the modification. I certainly would like another chance to talk to to Judge Gonzalez and see if we can modify his probation and get this case sorted out. I can go today, tomorrow, Mr. Vandenberg or Miss Ornelas.
I was there before. I can go with you, Mr. Huffman.
Okay, so I'll leave this on the trial docket. Alrighty?
I'll text Mr. Vandenberg and hopefully we can get out there today or tomorrow.
Good afternoon, if you have time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Ortega. We'll follow up with you if they have some response.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good luck, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Ornelas. I'll refer you to your attorney. Who's next?
Middle of page 14, Judge.
Mhm.
In cause number 2023-0D00767, State of Texas versus Ryan Santos. Announcement of council, please.
$10 Ortega for the state. State is ready.
Rick Huffman on behalf of Mr. Santos, we're ready.
I have a motion for continuance here as well. I believe it's a first setting. Ms. Ortega, what is the rec? And is that Mr. Santos? Mr. Santos, is that you? Is that your
Yes,
client?
Your Honor. What was that?
Sorry, Mr. Santos. I just want to notate for the record that you are appearing remotely. I'm sorry, Ms. Ortega. What's the rec?
Yes, Your Honor. It is 8 AP.
Okay.
With just the standard terms.
Okay, 8 years probation, Mr. Huffman. Is your client
Okay.
accepted or is he going to trial?
Judge, we have, I've conveyed the offer. My client is not accepting the offer. So we will be ready for trial on Friday. I'd like to abandon my motion for continuance on this case.
Okay, let me ask you, in terms of the panels, we have two Thursday, 2 Friday, but you guys were only set for the 11th, so you only get 2 panels. So I didn't have you all set for 2 days, although we have multiple panels, so just Friday, okay?
Thank you, Judge.
All righty, Mr. Ortega, does anybody need anything before? Otherwise, we just get you our jury sheets.
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
Okay, then we'll get you jury sheets.
Judge Mayor,
Santos is going, yes, sir.
there's one panel on Friday, at the ceremony. It's a big panel.
Oh, okay, 1 panel ceremonial court, even better. All righty, thank you very much. Who's next?
Judge, going back to page 9, Judge,
Mhm.
Mr. Buenrostro was here this morning and, Mr. Morales, is not here.
I believe they filed a motion for continuance. Obviously, Mr. Morales is in trial. Who has this case? Is it
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Ortega? Mr.
Do I-
Santos, you're excused. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Excused.
okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
I'll refer you to your attorney.
All right.
What's the rec in this case?
That would be Mr. Vandenberg's, I believe.
Okay.
You're talking about which page?
Page 9, Saul Buenrostro. I believe that was specially set this week.
Yes, Your Honor, the rec on that is 20 TDC, but we have a motion to continue, I believe. Well, I talked with Mr. Morales about this. He's occupied in the capital murder case. He said he filed a motion to continue, or he will file that in this.
He did, and I just want to know if this is a case that is ready to go. So in terms of a reset, I think in terms of a reset, what we'll do, Myrna, is we'll reset it for 30 days out for a judge's conference to go before the court so we can square away scheduling. Defense continuance obviously is granted.
It's unopposed.
Okay, who's next?
Judge, and I believe that you already had, granted the motion for continuance on page 8 for Ms. Caballero.
Correct. I think we discussed that one, Mr. Vandenberg,
Yeah.
last week. And on this one, I'm not sure, Myrna, if I had already given you instruction. It's the same kind of thing, 30 days out so we can get a scheduling going, if I'm not mistaken.
Your
We
Honor,
reset it, Judge, yeah.
yeah, it was reset for February, I believe.
Okay, beautiful. And then next.
I believe those are it for the Zoom ones, Judge.